The comment was tossed like a crumpled napkin across a cafe table. "I just don't see how that can work long term." You smiled with the kind of grace you practice when you're tired, and I felt heat rise in my throat. If you're here for overcoming stereotypes in multicultural relationships, you already know a throwaway line can stick to your day like gum on a shoe. We walked out into crisp winter air, and the traffic hummed like a low, indifferent choir. I wanted a perfect clapback. You wanted a hot chocolate and a minute to breathe. What we really needed was a better way to carry the weight without letting it bend us out of shape. That's where this story begins. We tell stories like this at Whispered Hearts, English because clichés sound loud until a real couple walks into the room. Stereotypes try to reduce you to a headline. Real love refuses to fit in a caption. The work isn't to argue with every line. The work is to build a life that makes those lines look small. But there's something even quieter working underneath the noise. Stereotypes are shortcuts the brain takes when it's rushing and scared. They flatten nuance to feel safe. Research shows people lean on them when they're overwhelmed, and therapists report that naming this pattern can cool the moment. Have you noticed how someone's certainty can shrink when you ask a calm, honest question? We started treating bias like weather, not a verdict. If it's a drizzle, you shrug and keep walking. If it's a storm, you step under a roof and choose when to move. Not every comment earns your energy. Some deserve silence. Others deserve a sentence. The power is in choosing rather than reacting. Here's the curiosity that changed everything between anger and action. What if a stereotype says more about the speaker's story than about yours? Maybe they grew up with one example that went badly and made it a rule. Maybe they have never seen a couple like yours share a grocery list and a mortgage. What would shift if you answered the fear instead of the phrase? On the sidewalk, we practiced micro-scripts. If the comment was clumsy but harmless, we used humor with a gentle edge. We're terribly inconvenient for clichés. If it was nosy, we set a boundary. We don't discuss private decisions with people who aren't in them. If it came from someone we love, we chose education. Here's how we do holidays and why it works for us. Which script would ease your next awkward moment? The psychology is simple and stubborn. Brains love boxes. They want to know who belongs where so the world feels organized. In multicultural love, your existence writes a new label the box never had. That can make people curious or defensive. We learned to make space for curiosity and give less airtime to defense. Have you noticed how criticism gets louder when your relationship grows quieter? When you haven't checked in, a stranger's words find the echo. So we built confidence in-house. We named our strengths like a sports announcer calling a highlight reel. We negotiate holidays better than most. We speak 2 love languages on Tuesdays before coffee. Confidence inside turns outside noise into distant static. But there's something even more important than confidence: clarity. We wrote a tiny about us paragraph for ourselves. It wasn't for social media. It was for mornings when doubt wore someone else's voice. We honor both cultures, protect each other's dignity, and make decisions by values, not pressure. When you know who you are, you don't borrow a stranger's conclusion. We kept proof close. Photos of us helping each other's parents set up a new phone. The text thread where your aunt asked for my recipe. The budget note titled Family Circle that funds visits both ways. These weren't exhibits in a case. They were reminders that our daily life already disproved the lazy lines. What everyday receipt would remind you that your love isn't hypothetical? There was a spring afternoon with wet sidewalks, and rain made the neighborhood smell new. A friend repeated a stereotype at a barbecue, dressed as a joke. You raised an eyebrow and said, lightly, "We're funnier than that." Then you told a 2-sentence story about last weekend's blended holiday brunch. The joke died quietly. Respect lived. But there's a point where outsiders aren't the only problem. Sometimes the comment cracks open a small argument that was waiting in your house. You feel exposed and start explaining your partner to the room instead of standing with them. We did that once. It stung all night. We learned a repair that travels well. Safety first. Same team. Empathy next. I felt alone when I had to answer for us. You probably felt cornered. Action last. Next time, we'll pause the conversation and step away together. We can send a follow-up message when we're calm. Repair beats replay. Every time. Have you noticed which places feel safe and which feel thin? A porch with summer evening warmth might hold a tough talk better than a crowded table. A slow drive at dusk makes honesty easier than a room of raised eyebrows. Choose your arena wisely. Courage is strong, but context is louder. Confidence is not a costume. It's a muscle you build with small reps. We picked 3 practices. 1, a weekly what we did well note on the fridge. 2, a tiny ritual before entering a room where ignorance might show up. Hand squeeze, deep breath, a whispered, same team. 3, an exit plan we could use without drama. Thanks for having us. We're heading out. Which practice can you start by Friday? Stereotypes travel with cousins. Fetishization, tokenizing, and assumptions about power. We chose bright lines that protect us without making every moment a courtroom. No commentary on bodies or types. No you people jokes. No interrogations about children, visas, or who's more traditional unless we bring it up. When a line got crossed, we named it once and enforced it quietly. But there's something even kinder we learned to do. We kept space for people who wanted to grow. A co-worker asked a clumsy question and then said, "I want to get this right." We gave them a path. "Thanks for asking. Here's a better way to say it." Growth doesn't need perfection. It needs a door that isn't locked. We also studied our own blind spots. Stereotypes can run both directions. When your cousin made a comment about my community, I felt my jaw tighten. We paused at the sink, rinsing plates while the house hummed. "Let's not trade one lazy story for another," you said, soft and firm. That sentence became one of our house rules. Here's a strong curiosity spike between understanding and action. What if the best answer to a stereotype is a visible, ordinary life? Grocery lists in 2 languages, calendars with both festivals circled, friends from different worlds laughing over the same terrible movie. When real life has the mic, clichés lose the stage. We kept our circle of belonging wide enough to breathe. Neighbors who cheered our milestones made stereotypes feel like background noise. We joined a community group that celebrated cultural nights at the park. Kids ran between picnic blankets while aunties swapped recipes and uncles argued about soccer. Public joy is a quiet protest with excellent snacks. In the middle of all this, we still needed a place to set down the weight. Whispered hearts. English exists for that exact reason. Not to shout back at every comment, but to offer a bench where your shoulders can drop. If this episode is the deep breath you needed, you've got good company here. We created a playbook for responses we could hold with open hands. Deflect with grace when the comment is tired and the speaker is harmless. Educate briefly when the person matters and the moment is possible. Exit when the energy is bad. protect each other's dignity more than you protect the mood of the room. Your peace is not a prop. Summer came with long light and longer opinions from relatives at backyard tables. We arrived early and arranged the seating so allies could anchor corners. We agreed on signals, 2 taps on the glass to change topic, a hand on the shoulder to say, "I've got this." Small choreography saved our bandwidth. Which signal would help you tag in your partner without a scene? Confidence building isn't only about defense, it's about delight. We made albums titled Beyond Labels, filled with photos that had nothing to prove. Grocery runs, laundry day laughter, a Saturday fix-it project. We looked at them on hard days and remembered that stereotypes can't survive inside a 3-dimensional life. Public figures can help as mirrors, not models. You see couples in the news navigating similar noise with humor and backbone. They don't owe anyone their story, and neither do you. Borrow the courage, leave the comparison. Your relationship is not a performance. It is a home. But there's something even quieter that sustains you. Ritual. We wrote a short line we say before entering spaces that once made us flinch. We know who we are. We made a tea we drink after tough rooms. Citrus and ginger for warmth, honey for kindness. Our nervous systems learned that safety comes back. Autumn arrived, and leaves gathered in loud whispers along the curb. A stranger asked if we were together, for real or just a phase. You smiled and said, "We've been paying each other's parking tickets for years." We laughed on the walk home, not because it was fair, but because the joke was ours. Claim your humor. It's a shield that doesn't bruise your hand. When a friend repeated a myth about saving one of us from our culture, we named the harm simply. We don't rescue each other from our families. We stand with each other in our families. Then we told a story about learning recipes and rituals on both sides. Stories crowd out myths better than arguments do. Have you noticed how stereotypes shrink when you introduce actual names? My mother is not that side. She is Maria who makes tamales the way the house remembers. Your grandfather is not old ways. He is Mr. Tran who keeps lemons in his pockets and advice in his gentle pauses. Names restore faces. Faces restore care. Sometimes the loudest stereotype lives in your own head. We heard it after a hard week and mistook fatigue for truth. So we created a check. If the sentence begins with always or never, we slow down. We ask, is this fact or fear? We drink water, we take a walk, we come back softer. We also gave allies jobs. If you hear someone speak for us, redirect them to us. If a joke lands wrong, say, "Not funny," and move on. Outsiders created the mess. Community can help clean it without turning the dinner table into a court. Spread the labor. Keep the love. There was a night we arrived home deflated. The heater clicked. The city exhaled. We wrote 3 truths on a sticky note and put it on the mirror. We choose each other. We honor both families. We deserve simple happiness. Those words met us in the morning with toothpaste breath and bed hair. It was still enough. When we began to plan for kids, we rehearsed how we'd handle schoolyard comments. We practiced responses that teach dignity without teaching war. Everyone's home has its own music. Ours plays 2 songs at once. We decided to tell teachers early about holidays and names. That way, our kid wouldn't have to carry the load alone. Our calendar turned from a list of defenses into a map of joy. We scheduled us days that had nothing to do with proving a point. Park picnics, bookstore dates, basketball at the community court while the sun softened. Joy is not a reward for surviving bias. It is a right that heals you while you live. Have you noticed which stereotype you've already proved wrong without noticing? Say it out loud here. They said we'd never last past a season. They said our families would never sit at the same table. You did both. Let your own evidence anchor you when tomorrow tries to borrow yesterday's assumptions. Our last repair story is small and powerful. After a relative's careless remark, we snapped at each other in the car. The silence felt like winter inside a small space. 10 minutes later, we tried again. Safety. Same side. Empathy. I felt unprotected. Action. Next time I'll step in sooner and we'll leave earlier if we need to. Then we shared the last fry. It tasted like peace. Confidence grows when you see yourself with soft eyes. We started taking pictures of ordinary courage. You in the grocery line, answering a question with grace. Me at the DMV, helping someone pronounce a name. A text to an ally who spoke up without making it about themselves. Courage leaves crumbs. Follow them home. We're always going to meet rooms with old ideas. The win is not in changing every mind. It's in keeping your heart open and your boundaries strong. When a stereotype shows up, remember your choices. Deflect, educate, exit, then go live the next good hour like it belongs to you, because it does. What stereotype about your relationship have you busted? Tell us in the comments so someone else can borrow your line. Your sentence could be, the lift someone needs on a heavy Tuesday. Community makes courage cheaper. We're grateful you're here. Whispered Hearts. English is the quiet place where couples like you put down the noise and pick up better questions. If this gave you one phrase you can use by Friday, share it. Someone you'll never meet might feel less alone because you did. Tonight, step onto your porch or balcony and listen to your city's night sounds. A bus sighing, a wind chime arguing gently with the air, your own breath settling. You made it through another day, being fully yourselves in a world that loves shortcuts. That is no small thing. Tomorrow, carry one small practice into the world. A hand squeeze before a room with old ideas. A script in your pocket. A plan to leave early without guilt. Confidence doesn't show up because strangers behave. It shows up because you planned to belong. And when someone tries to fit you into a story you didn't write, smile if you can and say, "We're busy living a better one." Then return to the house you've built together. Sweet, ordinary, and sharp as a new morning. That house is the proof, the answer, and the joy of overcoming stereotypes in multicultural relationships.